Hey, yo, you know the vibes, my guy. What a day. What a freaking day. As far as Niner fans goes, obviously you have other days to celebrate besides Niner fandom. But in terms of strictly Niner fandom, this is the greatest day since the divisional game against the Green Bay Packers. This this magnitude of today feels like a damn playoff win. It is huge. It is now we just need Von Miller to go to back to the Denver Broncos, get him the hell out of LA because the dude was fantastic in the NFC Championship game. So we need him gone as well. How we
Yeah,
vibing? How we feeling,
on
Mr.
a
Combine
Tuesday.
Credential?
On a Tuesday, it had to happen
Hey, we
like this,
going
right?
up. We going up.
Hey, on a Tuesday, we're not even in the club,
Whew.
anything like that. And it's funny with all of the things that were talked about, in circles at the combine. Russell Wilson was largely not spoken about at all. And it's funny because the Denver general manager, when we got a chance to do his press conference, spoke about being very aggressive in free agency, in with
Mhm.
trades, in the draft. Direct quote. And he said that they were looking for the right guy. Well, apparently, now that all the news is out, this has been happening for 2 weeks. So Russell Wilson was their guy, and little to do with the fact that Aaron Rodgers either gave them a heads up, or I guess they figured they weren't players for him, or they looked at the age of Russell Wilson and said, well, we'll take a shot on Russ at 30 as opposed to Rodgers later in his career, even though he's still playing at the highest level that he's probably ever played. So it's really crazy how all of this stuff developed and what we're finding out little by little. But yeah, this is a really good day for 49ers fans. We pride ourselves on being humble and being gracious and not we smoking that Seattle pack. Get them out of here. I'm so happy right now. Thank
Get him
goodness.
out.
Drew Lock's your quarterback. Enjoy pal. And pal.
Hey, I'm so glad it's done. I'm so glad it's done. Get him the hell out of here. Bye bye. Like no hard feelings. I'll go enjoy watching you as a Denver Bronco, but I couldn't stand watching you as a Seattle Seahawk. One thing I'm glad about is I don't have to watch another Russell Wilson interview and hear him say "Go Hawks" at the end of it. That thing just annoyed the crap out of me. Whatever it is, I think it was maybe because they were trying to like be cool by saying Hawks instead of Seahawks, like them trying to get their own, like if they were somebody essentially. And since he's been there, yeah, they were somebodies. They completely dogged us for most of the time, and that's why we feel this way. That's why we're like, get the hell on. Like this dude that gave everything to your franchise wanted nothing to do with your franchise anymore and just wanted to go, despite having receivers like Lockett, DK Metcalf, Rashad Penny looks good at the end there. So like they did have some talent for him as a quarterback wise, but even he was done. Even he didn't want to be there no more.
And what we should be looking at is that the Seattle Seahawks as an organization chose Pete and John over Russ. Let's see how that plays out. That's
Hey,
tough.
question. Is that, to me, I know my answer. Is that worse than what the 49ers did when they chose Balky over Harbaugh? Is choosing Pete and Schneider worse and getting rid of Russell Wilson?
I think so. They could have really kept Russell Wilson if they would have cleaned house and let him be a part of the next coach's choice and everything as well. Treat him like a franchise quarterback. And I mean, I'm glad it happened this way. But at the same time, if I'm an owner, there's no way that they're like guys like Russ are not, even as diminished as I believe he is right now at
Mhm.
his state. He hasn't particularly played good football for half of the 2020 into 2021. He didn't play very well. But they're not flying around. They're not on trees, bro. They're not like for you to go pick up
No.
another quarterback and just say, "Oh, we're just gonna, reboot and start all over." Like the thing that this points me to more than anything is Malik. I think that now, if you want to jump up for Malik, it's got to be like at 9 and like the 9 pick. That's the sweet spot for Malik, right? Like I don't know if they're gonna be able to get there, and that's gonna be the spot for anybody who wants to get Malik. Oh, what's Matt
I'm
Flynn doing
hey,
these days?
hey, I'm here for it. I'm here
What's
for it.
Matt?
All right. You were there at the combine.
Mhm.
Mr. Credential there, representing 49ers Gold Mine, getting us on the map. Look at you. So appreciate everything you do for the platform, obviously. I want to talk about Malik Willis. Is that their plan at pick 9 now? Like, what does he look like? What should we expect as 49er fans? I'm assuming there's no way he can match what Russell Wilson did, right? This is not Boogeyman Part 2, correct?
Look, Malik Willis has traits that would keep defensive coordinators up at night. In Mobile, I felt he separated himself from everyone else, even if he didn't have, let's just say, he didn't blow the doors off of the Senior Bowl in terms of practice game. Oh, thank you, Michael. Appreciate you, bro. But the sense was that people want him, but he's raw and he needs someone to start in front of him, right? Mike Tomlin had a 45-minute discussion with him after practice at the Senior Bowl. And from everything that we were getting at the combine and we were asking around, talking with so many people, it's pretty clear that he's viewed as the QB1. Now, where does that pick go, though, right? Like at this point. And I think how much is that, and this is not to diminish Malik Willis in any way, how much of that has to do with the other guys in this draft? Because it seems to be Malik and then like a tier and then like Pickett, Howell, all those other guys like there. And then that just depends on how you view it. But from everything that we heard, from everything that was talked about in those circles and whenever he was brought up, it's Malik at quarterback 1. Now, I 9 has got to be where it's got to be. So what does this tell you about their plan in Seattle, right? Noah Fant is a premium talent at tight end. We know that, right? Drew Lock was his teammate. Okay, that's fine. You get those picks. Okay, we'll see now. But you still have to draft and hit on those guys. So it's going to be very interesting to figure out what they plan to do with those picks and what they're going to plan to do at 9.
And it's not like they've had a recent track record of hitting on their picks, right? So this is big for the 49ers. And I don't think that Denver gave up that much in the grand scheme of things.
I don't think so either. I think Seattle gave a 4th, and that's disgusting. Like they shouldn't have given up a thing for Russell Wilson. I don't care. Look, you give me 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a 5th, and 3 players, and I still think that that's a little bit too. Like they should have gotten more, 1 more pick at least. They should have never had to send their 4th to them. That makes no sense in my mind.
It made no sense because like Denver sending a 5th, but yet you're giving them a 4th, which is obviously better than what that 5 is. You're giving up 2 1s. One is this year in a draft class that's more day 2 heavy than day 1 heavy. So go figure. And then you're giving up a 1 next year. And then when it comes to the 2s, one of those 2s are the Rams. And that was the pick for Von Miller. Von Miller's probably going to sign right back for you. So originally you're giving up a 1-2 that was yours, 2 1s. So it's 2 1s and a 2. And then players like I guess you consider Drew Lock. I think he's hot. I don't think he's good. Noah Fant, sure, he could be a fine tight end, but it's potential. Maybe if he gets with a good quarterback, he could reach that potential. But guess what? He doesn't have that quarterback in Seattle. So it's going to be the same potential situation there. And then yeah, I like Shelby Harris. I think he's a good player, but he doesn't push the needle in a Russell Wilson trade. He just doesn't. So in the grand scheme of things, I don't think they gave up much. And I think it was quite of a steal considering that they were asking for the Washington Commanders to give up Chase Young. Now, if you're Washington, you look at the end of this trade and you're like, yeah, there's no way we're giving up Chase Young because he's worth 2 1s himself. Yet Drew Lock's not worth a 1. Noah Fant's not worth a 1. Shelby Harris is definitely not worth a 1, even though he's the best player out of those 3. So it's Washington may have I don't want to say they may have lucked out because they lost out on Russell Wilson, but considering that you would have
Is he frozen or am I frozen? I see you now.
I'm frozen, but now I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, it could be a combination of Geno and Drew Lock.
And hey, remember last year on Twitter, Seahawks fans were capping for Geno. Oh, Geno's more efficient than Russ. Go with Geno. Hey, you got your wish,
DK loves Geno. DK loves Geno.
You got your wish. Let's see what happens now. Let's talk about the other one. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers. How does that affect the 49ers? Obviously, I don't affects him in a way where I would have ever thought he would have been a 49er. I think that was completely off the table. Even though that ESPN, NFL Network, FS1 may want to talk about that pipe dream scenario that's not a reality. How does that affect the 49ers?
Just another playoff opponent for the 49ers to vanquish. I mean, the Packers are going to be largely the same, and they're probably going to win 12, 13 games. And it just, a lot of people were waiting for dominoes to fall. So this is why a lot of people are saying, because I see the comment in here already that Jimmy's value keeps going up. Okay. So it seemed like, Denver was quite the fit for them. And it was talked about that he was deciding between them and Denver. We found out that it's been 2 weeks of them talking with the Seahawks. I don't know what changed, who's telling what, right? But Denver was a place that kind of made sense for Jimmy Garoppolo. So now that's off the table. Green Bay was never going to be in that mold right there because they weren't going to go after Jimmy Garoppolo or anything like that. So it takes two options off. And now the tier of who's actually available and high end is much smaller, clearly, because we don't know who's going to be moving in other ways. So now kind of puts people in a position where if Jimmy Garoppolo gets cut or something like that, now you have to bid with other people. Instead, for the small price of your first round pick and a second round pick, you could have Jimmy Garoppolo and have his rights and start, negotiating good faith off of that. So it's going to be very interesting. And I think that's what people are talking about more when they say that Jimmy's value has gone up, is that's striking one off of the list, which is Denver. And also you're striking off another option with Aaron Rodgers. And those were the two most attractive names in terms of who, top end guys. So I mean, it just pushes Jimmy Garoppolo higher to the list now, because that list, he is in that tier. But at times, and I would say even right now after the shoulder surgery, probably at the top of that tier. We're talking about like the Teddy, the Mariota, like those guys that are there right now. Like
Carson, maybe.
Yeah, Carson Wentz, right? He's ahead of him. And Indianapolis, from everything that was said in Indy at the Combine, he is cooked over there. They don't want him, and it goes far more deep than things that went on the field. So that's another place. So them going away doesn't necessarily, it didn't impact the 49ers in terms of Rodgers, but it just opens up the market a little bit more for these quarterback needy teams. And then you have to start playing the mind games of, well, Russell Wilson, apparently the Commanders asked for a whole bunch, asked for Russell and gave more, and Seattle was saying, nope, put him in the AFC. And yeah, that's the thing, is like, okay, do the 49ers want to, move him in the NFC, move him out of the AFC? So it just depends on who's going to end up coming calling. So Indy feels like a really good spot, and Pittsburgh feels like a really good spot, but who knows? We should see some movement in the next few days with this.
Diego has a great point here. If anything, Jimmy's value maybe goes back to whatever it was before the shoulder surgery news, not going above. This is a scenario I can see. Like you said, how the Wilson and the Rodgers moves directly affects the 49ers. Seemed like it was one team that really truly had a chance for that guy anyways. Because obviously both quarterbacks came from the NFC. They had to go get shipped to the AFC. And Colts already had a missing pick this year. So that made it a little tricky for the guys in Seattle to want to accept that trade, considering the Colts aren't giving them a 1 this year to go ahead and be in return. And this is what I see. Here are little chirps here and there. I don't believe a 3-team trade is off the table when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo. Colts want to give up minimal assets because they already have to ship off a 1 to Philadelphia for Carson Wentz. So they want to give up minimal assets, obviously get a quality starter, and get rid of Carson. Because like you said, it's bigger than football when it comes to Carson. It just didn't work. And obviously you're not going to go ahead and lose him just to go start Eason there at quarterback for the Colts when they have a playoff roster and a win now roster. Right. And then you got Washington Commanders. You spoke to Ron Rivera. That guy sounds like he wants a veteran. He wants someone that can come in, knows an NFL locker room. While Carson Wentz may not be that guy, I could see Ron Rivera favoring Carson Wentz a little bit opposed to a Jimmy Garoppolo, because that's Riverboat Ron. He wants to have that ability to try and throw deep when he can. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to really give you that too often, at least efficiently. Well, the discussion could be made. Carson Wentz ain't that efficient either, deep, but at least he'll attack it. A trade to where Jimmy goes to Indy, Carson goes to Washington, 49ers get a pick from Washington and a player from Indy. That's something that's been smoked out there. Obviously, I'm not going to say bet your assets on it. Just something that's been smoked out there because 3-team trades don't happen very often. But in this scenario, it seems like everyone gets what they want in return.
Yeah, and to answer the question that's in here, I think it's Ellis that has it. He says, "Oh, wait, what? Why are the Colts so excited to get rid of Wentz off the field?" Yeah, the play on the field didn't match the headache, and it has to do with the vaccine because he lost games. Who knows how much that affected him? They didn't make the playoffs. They kind of tailed off at the end of the year. Kind of rubbed the front office the wrong way because they felt like they went on a limb to bring him in there and everything. So they're kind of just done with it at this point. That's the buzz that we were getting, and it has to, like, again, has to do what happened on the field because he wasn't particularly good this season, and it's a game of seasons worth of film, but also that didn't rub them I believe they said they had something like maybe 4 players who weren't vaccinated, and for the quarterback it spoke more to leadership, they said, and him not sacrificing. So yeah, that's what we heard. So in terms of Ron Rivera, here's the other thing. He definitely needs to win games because he's a winner, right? And he's not somebody who's here to just constantly rebuild.
Right.
But how erratic is Dan Snyder? Like, you could get fired and have a good season too. Like, there's a world where Ron Rivera wins 10, 11 games, and now the NFC is so top heavy right now. And then after that, who the hell knows, especially without anybody really, having quarterback questions answered. But who knows what's going through Dan Snyder's mind with Ron Rivera. So that's why I think that, a lot of the culture that he's built is leading up to them having a successful season, because you never know what Dan Snyder is going to do. And there have been coaches who get fired after successful seasons. I mean, Doug Peterson was at the podium for the Jacksonville Jaguars 2 years after he won a Super Bowl. He was fired. Just how it goes sometimes. So when you put Dan Snyder into that mix, he definitely wants to win games right now. That defense should play a little bit better. And he was talking about that it didn't play up to par the entire year. And that was something that he was really upset about. And so, I mean, yeah, he's talking about all of these things in the scheme of, he sees what's going on in the NFC right now. I mean, even before all these moves happened, and now you take Russ out, and they were already the last place team in the NFC West. He sees that, and he knows that he needs to have results, and that's why you would see a move for a veteran quarterback. Wentz is not as attractive as Jimmy G. Absolutely not. 100%. Absolutely not. All right, that's it, man.
Yeah, like, you don't even need to have the debate at that point. But let me ask you this quick question. If the Colts had Jimmy G all of last season, are they in the playoffs?
If the Colts had Jimmy G last season, are they in the playoffs? You know what? Yes. Jonathan Taylor was the best running back in football. All you needed was not as many turnovers. And Wentz was throwing that thing right to guys. And he blew games at the end of games, man. Like, that Titans game stands out. The Jaguars game, he probably would have won, Jimmy. I mean, like, that's the thing. Is like, I think the disrespect has gotten a little too far. And I think that people are still latched on to Wentz's MVP season that he didn't even get to finish. And I wonder how much of what happened in that 1 year is the exception to what he really is, and how much the injuries and all the other confidences played in his mind. So you know what? I will take the homer route. If the Colts had Jimmy Garoppolo last year, they would have made the playoffs, because all they would have had to do was win one more game, and I think Jimmy would have made at least enough plays to win one more game. For them to have that defense and Jonathan Taylor and lose, you know what game they would have lost, actually, with Jimmy Garoppolo? They would have lost the game in San Francisco.
Yeah, the
rain game.
Yeah. They would have lost the rain game for sure. I was thinking that in my head. I was right. Like, after I asked that question, I was like, dang, well, they probably lose the Niner game, but they're definitely going to make it up somehow, some way. Yeah, because accountability and leadership is a real thing. Is Jimmy Garoppolo more talented than Mitch Trubisky? He's not. He's really not more talented than him. But is he the guy that you want to be your quarterback over Mitch Trubisky? Personally, myself, yeah. Give me Jimmy over Mitch, for sure. Like, Jimmy's not even more talented than a Marcus Mariota. He's not. But who's your starting quarterback? It's going to be Jimmy. Because I think the intangibles is a real thing at the quarterback position. You need a guy who's basically a manager at a job. Manager at a job site, you just need him to put people in the right place and just don't screw it up. And that's what Jimmy could have done with the Indianapolis Colts, and I think they would have made the playoffs if Jimmy was there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. Like you said, the smoke is really big in Indy. I like Pat McAfee. It sounds the way he talks as well about Carson Wentz. Sounds like Carson's gone out of Indy, and that guy's well connected to that organization. He's still doing his podcast in Indy. That's how. So he has all the ties there. Jim Irsay is a text away for him. So I think that's a perfect spot for him. I really do. A dome. So we don't have to worry about the whole cold weather thing. Because
the only
obviously,
thing is,
go ahead.
No, the only thing is that let's list the AFC quarterbacks hierarchy.
That's the problem. So you got
Josh
Mahomes.
Allen,
Yep.
Josh Allen, Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr. God, keep going.
Lamar Jackson,
Joe
Burrow.
Now, where does Jimmy Garoppolo fall behind all of those guys? Right?
Does Deshaun Watson, if he gets cleared, does he come back and play a year for the Texans to improve his trade value and improve his destinations?
So
that's another question.
Here's the conundrum for the Colts. Does moving for Jimmy Garoppolo now with this reshaped AFC quarterback hierarchy, does that put you in the playoffs?
The thing is, where are you now?
Yeah.
Where are you now? So at the end of the day, you'll get better. And that's what you want as a franchise is get better at the quarterback position if you don't have one of those guys. And moving on from a Wentz for Jimmy Garoppolo, you'll get better. Because if there's DeForest Buckner's going to be one of the biggest advocates in that locker room, along with the Darius Leonard. And if DeForest Buckner is saying we could win every single game as long as this guy's under center and basically be a huge advocate of Jimmy Garoppolo, I think that bodes well for that Colts team. And they do have a win now roster. They have, I'll say it, the best linebacker in all of football in Darius Leonard. They have DeForest Buckner, who's one of the best interior defensive linemen in all of football. They have Michael Pittman at receiver. They obviously have their what?
Keep going.
What? They obviously have MVP candidate year to year in Jonathan Taylor at running back, and that's what Jimmy Garoppolo needs. They have an offensive line, Quentin Nelson, solid. I would imagine that they only get better at the offensive line. Yeah, I just like Darius Leonard. I like him.
Here's the thing.
What's wrong with it?
Here's the thing, too.
What's wrong with it?
Some of the things that the coach struggled with in terms of their offense and passing were the timing throws that Jimmy Garoppolo is very good at, what he's trying to live with, right? And the deep throwing of Wentz is like it would show up for one game or it'll show up for like one or two throws, but he was highly erratic in that area as well, too, even with the better arm. So I don't know, man. I just think that what they want to do, what they could do in terms of just running the ball, making him make safe throws that are like in the middle of the field and, and being able to control the clock and play defense. I feel like that bodes well for Jimmy Garoppolo. So, I mean, hey, look, nobody's listening to me, so it doesn't matter, right? Like I can't boost his stock, but I definitely would say that if Jimmy Garoppolo was on that team, played 16 games with that roster, with that coach, they would have made the playoffs.
All right. Somebody's going to have to cut that clip and show that my guy Jason over here just loves him some Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's a believer.
My favorite quarterback ever.
Jimmy. What's Gucci Garop? That's what he is. No. Remember that in 2017?
Comments are out of pocket already, bro.
Oh, I know. I see it. Did this get announced yet? That's what I want to know.
The Cardinals have a really good chance, and the 49ers have an even better chance of being that opponent. And if that happens, see you.
Well, the Cardinals are the home team. The Cardinals are the home team already. They just need to announce the away team.
But the Niners have a really good shot.
If there is, I'm out. I'm going to the FA. I'm going to the FA. Never been, actually. I've never been. So that's my excuse to go. Is just make a whole trip out of it. That's basically what we're going to do in Vegas for the draft. So talk to me. You were there at the Combine. What did guys say about Trey Lance? He's obviously the quarterback moving forward. Eric Armstead has said it yesterday, pregame for the Sacramento Kings, that, the plan is to go with Trey Lance. Talk to me. What are people saying about Trey Lance? You can name drop some of these guys. I don't mind. I'm sure the other listeners don't mind.
That's all right. I'm going to name drop the person who was smart enough to ask around the league the entire time that we were there, and that's
Okay.
Jordan Elliott. Jordan Elliott
Okay.
did a magnificent job introducing himself, everything as well. And once he started getting into conversation and they started asking, oh, well, who do you work for? He was like, hey, we cover the 49ers. And then it was just like, hey, what do you think of Trey Lance? And the words that I would use in terms of body language and the way that people thought, everyone's excited. Everyone. Let the kid play. All right. Bucky Brooks. There's your name drop. Bucky Brooks. We're talking with him.
Okay.
His exact words, direct quote. 2 people were there to corroborate this. I don't know why they didn't play the kid to start the season. His words.
Ooh.
Exact direct quote.
Did he follow up on that comment?
You don't make well. We just let him talk for a little bit. We didn't really. He was already on the way out. Like I was like the light was going off in Lucas Oil when we were trying to like walk out and we ran into him and we just introduced ourselves. But
Okay.
he just talked about you don't make a move for something like that and then waste a year of it all. And we were just sitting there looking at each other like, but see, when we say that, we get murdered for it, right? But
right.
At the same time, everybody that we spoke to, whether it's scouts, whether it's players, GMs, anything like that, guys that were just hanging out around, or none of them had anything particular to say in terms of I don't think he's ready or that wasn't the right pick. I think all of them are excited while also being a little fearful because they know what it could mean for everybody else if this works out. So,
got it. Okay, so that's the field with Trey Lance. What's the field with Deebo Samuel? Did you ask anyone possibly what's his price tag for a player like that? Considering we just saw Mike Williams, who's barely done more yardage than what Deebo Samuel has done in 2 more years than a Deebo Samuel, get paid $20 million per year, 3 years, $60 million. And I think about 40 of it's guaranteed. So did you guys get a feel of what that price tag could possibly be?
well, at the buzz around was 25, but now Mike Williams got 20, and that doesn't feel good because that's his baseline.
Yeah.
But yeah. And in terms of if you played a game at the press conferences and just walked from one to the other while they were all happening, and you took a shot for every time you heard someone mention Deebo, a player, a coach, a GM, any of them, you'd have been washed out by the first hour of media availability.
Wow.
I mean, Mike McDaniel had to go to the podium. Mike McDaniel had to go to the podium and answer questions about it. And he said, we didn't find Deebo by looking for Deebo. He's like, that's not how this works. He's like, and you trying to duplicate that would be foolish. If you see traits that you can enhance, then obviously you go for that. That's what we found in Deebo Samuel. It wasn't like we went out there and said, let's find this guy that we can give the ball in the backfield to and all of these things. So I think that was a really good point. And I believe it was DaCosta, the Ravens general manager. Jordan asked a question about Lamar's extension. Someone followed up with, well, do you think that his style of play is sustainable or something to that effect? And DaCosta said, I do, and I think that he's come in and he's improved every single year. He goes, that's why you see so many teams trying to duplicate that. It's a copycat league. He goes, you'll have an advantage for 6 weeks before the entire league is trying to do exactly what you're doing. So that's the thing now. The vibe, the players are getting asked all the time if they feel like they're Deebo Samuel. I mean, hell, during the season, if you watch the wide receiver take a jet sweep, oh, they love to use him like Deebo Samuel. No, they don't.
Yeah.
Like the dude had maybe three handoffs. That's not the same thing at all. So everybody's trying to find their own Deebo. Everybody thinks that they're going to be looking at wide receivers that way, but that could do those wide receivers big disadvantages if you're trying to duplicate something that might quite possibly be a one-of-one type thing, man. Like there's guys who have similar skill sets that you could use that way, but again, you're trying to find something that I don't think is out there anymore, and the 49ers were lucky enough to jump on it first.
Yeah, and like we've seen special talent try with Tavon Austin try and do it, didn't really succeed. A guy like Percy Harvin actually had success, but he didn't put up the amount of yardage that Deebo did in both positions. So while he had that success MVP-like season, Deebo did it at a higher rate and a more efficient rate than what a guy like Percy Harvin did. So when you say it's a one-of-one type thing, yeah, I kind of vibe with that. I kind of feel that, but man, if the talk was 25 million and now Mike Williams gets paid 20, you're probably looking at that 27 million mark, and the 49ers are maybe
Yep.
in this place of, man, that cap went up 50 or 25. I wish it would have went up 50 because Nick Bosa is also another guy that they have to pay. When it comes to Nick Bosa, what were some of the things you're hearing out there in Indy?
Best in the world. I mean, guys having effusive praise and just, I mean, we were trying to talk about other players, and guys were just like, why are you not asking us about Bosa? Like, that's the guy that, even, again, yeah, it's crazy, right? Here's what's funny. I think that I knew this in my mind, but being out there kind of, I guess, reinforced it. The
Mm-hmm.
49ers have the best left tackle in the world. They have the best tight end in the world. They have the best linebacker up there. I mean, you don't believe that, but that's okay. They have the best offensive weapon in the league. They have the best fullback in the league. It's crazy to me that the 49ers are stacked as a core at these certain places. And people around the league obviously notice that, right? Like they talk about, like
Right.
when we're trying to talk about Trey Lance, guys are like, man, Trent Williams, this guy, and then you start to think like, oh yeah, like Deebo Samuel had an amazing year. Oh yeah, and Nick Bosa has a claim as the best edge as well too, right? Like, so that's
Mm-hmm.
how loaded this core is, and I think that it ties back into the Trey Lance thing because the vibe was you should be playing the kid because when you do get him up to speed, it's going to be a problem for everyone. And I think that's what I kind of learned while I was there as well is that the league is noticing that core, right? And the same way that they're trying to find their own Debo, to think about it, there's not many teams that have the best at that many positions on their team, whether it's different positions at all. So that's how loaded this core is. And yeah, I mean, guys wanted to effuse praise on everybody. The
Mm-hmm.
big question just was, where's Coach Shanahan? And I was like, it's all right. I'm kind of glad he's not here to be yelling at us. So
um, yeah, when you say it that way, is every other team is trying to find a Debo Samuel, yet they're also trying to find a Trent Williams. They're trying to find a Fred Warner. They're trying to find for years now a George Kittle. Hawkinson's probably the closest to it, yet he's not George Kittle at the end of the day. Um, so they have those pieces there, and like you said, it's just get Trey Lance in there, see what happens. We have a donation here from Cap speaking. Debo is a must sign, but do the Niners wait 1 year and see how Ayuk does with Trey? I don't think so. I think you.
nope.
I think Debo established what he means to this team, and you got to pay that man whatever it costs. You got to bite the bullet. That's how you retain the best players in the league. If you don't pay him, somebody else is. And do you
Yeah.
really want Debo on another sideline? I personally don't. No, thank you.
No, and then when you think about the draft capital invested, it's just a big swing and a miss. I think that they can find a way, as we're finding out. The Saints aren't as strapped under the cash. They just can do a few restructures, and all of a sudden they're back under. So again, not that the cap isn't real, but there's ways to maneuver that. We found out the increase going into this year is going to be another increase. So if you push money down later on, there's ways to maneuver all of that stuff. I think Debo is a must sign, and I think they're going to work as hard as they can. I mean, it was brought up to John Lynch in the same press conference that I asked him the question. And he talked about, wanting to meet in the middle and trying to get that done. So, yeah, I mean, it's something that's on mind. I think it's going to get done.
Really
Also,
quick.
anybody that's here, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys. It's been a while. I traveling. It was really hard to do these lives. I'm right back in the saddle now because I'm home. Make sure you like this video on my channel, on Leo's channel. Make sure you subscribe to both these channels. Also, I saw some people in here. You want to join that Spicy Squad? Check that join button out right there on the video. You can hit that where you get emojis and things like that. And when I start doing call-in shows, the Spicy Squad is going to be up first for them to jump in and have their conversation with me and throw out their takes. So just something else that we're adding. Appreciate everybody for sticking in. I think we have like how many, like 270 in here, 280, something like that. We're close to that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. I like that. I'm glad to see all you guys in here again. Same faces, mess with y'all. And you guys are the most informed fan base. So appreciate you guys.
Yep. Let's go ahead and answer this one from Michael. He's my guy's, spitting fire in the comment section. How do you think the Niners will approach the draft this year? I'll let you answer that since you were out there.
It depends, man. I think it's going to be more about Tony. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate that, man. That means a lot. I think it depends on how the board lays. I think the 49ers have a few holes, right, on this team. The offensive line thing, that's why I asked the Mike McGlinchey question first. And John dodged it. He answered the first part and he just talked about his rehab, but I didn't ask all that. What I asked him was, any updates on Mike McGlinchey, and if his progress isn't going along as well and the injury is more severe, does that alter any sort of draft plans? And he didn't answer that portion of it. He just answered about how Mike's doing, and he's like, he's attacking it, blah, blah, blah. Very scripted, easy answer, cool. But he didn't answer that other part. So I wonder what takes precedent at this point. Is it alignment? Is it an interior alignment? Is it a right tackle? Right? Because as of right now, even though at the same press conference right after, I believe he spoke with Mayoko and he talked about Alex Mack, he expects him back. So it's two. Let's just operate with the optimistic outlook of the offensive line. Trent Williams and Alex Mack. You still have three spots that you either have question marks or you don't have players for right now that are proven, right? We know Aaron Banks is a natural left guard. Go ahead.
Jordan Schultz. Pat's free agent corner, J.C. Jackson, who's still just 26, will set the market in a big way. Sources say the Bengals, Chargers, Niners, and Dolphins will all have legitimate interest in the All-Pro.
All right, so Jordan Schultz he's 50-50 when it comes to this type of stuff.
He's connected with the players. He's very connected with players.
I'll give him that. That's a little bit of a change. So that's breaking news. That's a little bit of change in philosophy for me because it seems like the 49ers have always either, one, drafted later on in drafts, or two, tried to bargain bin dive for, guys that either are injured, hope that they'll bounce back type of thing. But that would be a sign of a big change in philosophy for the 49ers to pay a cornerback. Now, the cornerback that is in question, J.C. Jackson, absolutely deserves money, and he would transform this defense. So that's different. We're not talking about, like, Stephon Gilmore's fine, but if you're going to ask me who to pay, I pay a little bit more to make sure you secure it with J.C. Jackson. Yeah, so.
Yeah, you just imagine this team, like, with an Emmanuel Mosley, who I think he's a solid corner. No touchdowns allowed this year. I don't know if you call him a bona fide cornerback one yet. It's 1 year of top level play. I don't know if he is in that label quite yet. JC Jackson is. And if you pair a JC Jackson with the guy who's on the fridge of being a legit cornerback one, granted, it may be for 1 year since it's the last year of Emmanuel Mosley's deal anyways, that's scary. And then you bring back Jason Brett. Like, yo, this cornerback room would be stacked. You're legit one big time corner away from doing some special things. Now we can make the whole argument that it's not necessarily what the 49ers need, that the 49ers don't need a corner. They haven't really had one, and look what they did in the NFC Championship game. But I tell you what, it's if you had a guy like JC Jackson on this team, they're probably in the Super Bowl. They're probably, because I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'll get to that right now. I'll tell you what. It's where Cooper Kupp got the post corner touchdown. I believe it was their first touchdown of the game, I feel like. Because I believe the second one was where K1 was just like looking all over the place or whatever. It was where he ran the post corner. Obviously, Tart was held, so he couldn't get there quick enough. But Ambry Thomas was really shallow on that cover 2 play. Really, really shallow for whatever reason, because it was like a 3rd and 13 or something like that. If he played a little more to the sticks, maybe Matthew Stafford looks off and doesn't make that throw to Cooper Kupp. I bring that up because J.C. Jackson, if he gets asked to do that in a cover 2, he's going to be closer to the sticks, to where he's either going to make a play on the ball or Matthew Stafford's going to look off Cooper Kupp, and eventually they settle for a field goal instead of a touchdown, since it was a 3rd and 13. That's why you go out and get these guys, because when they're available, you do what you can to make it happen. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to Joey's comment. You were there. You saw Petrie. I
love Jalen Petrie. Balled out in Mobile, man. I think he fits so well. I mean, he would lock up tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. He'd be great, man. I would love Petrie at 61, man. It's just,
out of Baylor.
I don't know if he's gonna make it now. I thought after Mobile that he would have a shot. Now I'm just like, nah, no way, man. Like, I'm starting to look at the mocks and what everybody's talking about, and he's just getting pushed up at this point. And he's probably like the two guys that I really had my eyes on at 61. I don't think are gonna be there anymore. Arnold Ebukadi from Penn State and Petrie. I don't think either of those guys make it to 61 unless the 49ers make a move and they push up to get him or anything like that. But unfortunately, looks like two of those guys are out. And then that is what I was talking about when the question was asked about how do the 49ers approach this draft. I think it depends very much on how the board lays and who's left and what they do and what's best player available. So for me, I would have loved to have seen them add an edge like Ebukadi, especially if they sign J.C. Jackson, because then, look, I'm not trying to say that you don't have to sign more edge players, but if you have elite coverage while you have very good pass rush, you don't need as many pass rushers, right? Because it can go hand in hand, right? I'm not coverage over pass rush, right? I'm not saying that, but the better the coverage, the less the pass rush has to get there. In the same way that the more pass rush, then the less you have to cover. It's nice to have that flexibility. So,
there was another guy in here I'm not too high on, but you saw him up and close. Tariq Woolen.
Yeah.
Now I'll say this. If the 49ers decide to draft a corner, they don't need a corner to start this year. So a Tariq Woolen would be someone to develop. So that would be a fine pick. The reason why I say I'm not too high on him, because I see some things on tape that is just like, I think he makes a better safety than corner. I will say that. I think he can make a better safety than corner. If a team drafts him and makes that transition, I think he could be a stud. I think he could be a star. But corner, but he's a hot name. What do you think? You saw him up.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The combine is really good for confirming your confirmation bias and your priors. And also, I have a hard time sometimes with separating those measurables and the stuff that can't be measured in the combine. Does that guy understand coverages? Can he make plays on the ball? Is he instinctual? Like those sort of things, right? So the combine is good for like running fast. Like today, I was watching Thornton's film from Baylor, right? Guy almost set the record for fastest 40 time. He's a Blazer, right? And I expected to go into watching his film like, man, this guy's blowing past people because he had a really good year this year. And I found some things that he struggles with. He struggles with press man. He struggles with catch point. After he makes the catch, guys can knock the ball out. So you get wrapped up in all these high 40 time numbers, all these vertical jumps, and that's what really jumped out to me about Calvin Austin, because I want Calvin Austin to be so good. I would love for the 49ers to draft him so he could be like Turbo Trent Taylor. But yeah, it's really funny like how you've got to kind of change the way that you're thinking, because if a guy who you're not really too high on doesn't do well at the combine, you're like, see. And if there's a guy that you really like and he does well, you're like, see. But I think it's hard to be right down the middle with guys, because you want your priors to be confirmed, right? So that's the part that I struggle with a little bit. But the wow factor is still there when it comes to these 40-yard dashes and the three cones and the plays that they make on the ball and stuff like that in terms of secondary. But for me, it was trying to be level-headed in terms of looking at the measurable, but also using that as a part of the equation and not the end-all be-all, right? Like, that's not the type of stuff that's going to swing me one way or another. I'd have to keep looking into him, seeing the tape, seeing what he's done, right? Production matters too. So all of that is what I'm learning right now about my first time being at the combine and scouting for real. So I'll be honest with you on that.
Is there any guys that kind of just like, after speaking with them, because you were there, you were able to ask questions, you actually asked John Lynch a question. Was there any guy that kind of just like flipped the narrative, like, okay, I like this guy now, like, and then you dove and watched a little bit of their tape and you're like, okay, I really like this guy now. Is there any players like that?
Well, I mean, for me, it was James Cook. I mean, not because he answered my question, but because I hadn't really watched him too much.
Because he answered your question.
I got it. Yes, because he answered my question. So I went and I looked, and I think he'd be a fit. And I think the 49ers people aren't around the combine are not high on Trey Sermon. They're not. They're definitely not. Like right now, like there was some disparaging things. There was some disparaging things said by people that I respect very highly in this game, in this media game, in this scouting game, all of those things. So who knows?
What do they do with him then?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Not many people had many good things to say. A few of them tried to give the right answer about, well, they'll move to the inside zone and he'll be better in that way. Some people were just like, he's done. Like, he's not good. Like, and I was just like, wow, like definitively, like saying, what do you feel about Trey Sermon? Right out of this one running back's mouth that used to play in the league. He's not good. I just was like, I didn't like that. I didn't like that. So yeah, it was a little scary when it comes to that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. And then it makes you feel worse because you could have just stuck around and just drafted Javonte. But hey, Javonte's going to have lighter boxes now, and he's going to get to chill with Russell Wilson now. So I'm not bitter. Okay.
I don't want to talk about it. You know what? I don't want to talk about it.
Hey, can you pull this one up?
No,
man.
The
Bo Melton one.
Oh, the Bo Melton one. I asked you about him when you were out there at the Senior Bowl. I texted you and Javi.
So Rutgers, he ran a great 40. He did really well in interviews. His stock is up, man, and a lot of people are way more interested than he is. That's another thing too. Brad has said this the first time we met at the Senior Bowl. The human element, scout the person. How do you do that, right? That's the hard part, right? A guy could have all the measurables in the world, run fast, jump high, catch everything, could run people over. If you don't want to work, or if are you ready to invest in that? And I think that a lot of buzz around why DK Metcalf fell was because he bombed out all his interviews. He bombed them all out. There's no way that we're going to look back at this draft and say, man, why did DK Metcalf go in the second round and feel like that was right? It was wrong. But how much of that did he hurt on his own? So a lot of these guys have a big opportunity to, one, showcase what they can do in measurables, but two, make sure that you know what you're getting. Look that guy in the eye. And John Lynch spoke at length about that. You can do that on Zoom. The Zoom isn't the same as being in the same room, feeling the energy, feeling the body language. That's the part that was missing, which makes it all the more impressive for anybody who hit on draft people last year, because you didn't get a chance to actually be in the room with them because of COVID, right? And it's funny, when we covered the Senior Bowl the last time, you and I, we spoke at length with Matt Rule. Matt Rule told a story about how he got into an elevator with a prospect while he was in there. This is the elevator pitch, the 30-second pitch. He said by the time that young man left the booth, left the elevator, he looked at him and said, "Take him off our board. Immediately take him off our board."
I remember that.
And that's crazy to think, right? And he said it was a very high prospect, someone that he wasn't going to say by name or anything like that. But he told that story. And that's the type of things that go on like behind the scenes that I think is more important than all the other things. You can have a guy that's not as fast and he's mid, but if he knows how to play football, if he's committed and you look in his eyes and know that you should be investing the capital in him, because people lose jobs off of missing draft picks. This is not something where it's just like, oh, well, you blew it. It doesn't really matter. No, your boss can call you in the office the next year and say you're fired. Like, why did you take this guy? I trusted you. So a lot of that is what I'm learning more about, is that human element. How do you scout the person? Forget the player. How do you scout the person and what his values are? Is he going to be crazy and erratic off the field? Does he have an attitude? Can he take coaching? That's another thing at the combine, right? They show you things for the first time that you haven't been able to do, and they want to see how quickly you can pick it up. They don't expect you to be perfect, but if you can pick it up at a nice rate right there in front of everybody, it speaks to how quickly you can adapt, which is such a huge part of the NFL game. So just more of that, more than the measurables, is just why those coaches are there, why they're running those drills, what guys are saying behind the scenes. That's the stuff that's interesting to me in terms of the combine.
Let's talk about what guys are keeping off from what they post, or necessarily sites that they're keeping off. You asked John Lynch a specific question about Mike McGlinchey, and that specific question wasn't in the 49ers transcripts like they usually are. The full question wasn't. And John Lynch gave the vanilla answer of he's doing well, he's on track. Is there a reason for concern yet? Like, since they didn't post the whole question, the answer was also vanilla. Are we just like doing too much, or are we connecting some dots here? Like, what's that all about? Why don't they post the damn question?
I think I asked a question that he didn't expect to be asked. I mean, he's at the combine. I think that he went there thinking that people were going to ask about draft plans, what's going on with Jimmy Garoppolo, what's up with Trey Lance, and boom, as soon as he gets to the podium, I fire off that question about Mike McGlinchey because it's important. And that second part of the question was the important part. Does the severity of the injury alter your draft plans? Because the starting right tackle for your team that you used, the number 9 pick overall, has what people are talking about around there, a 50-50 chance of being able to come back because the injury was so severe. So he gave that vanilla answer, very rehearsed, very media trained, and just skipped the second part of the question. Now, I wouldn't have minded so much, but when I went to the 49ers transcript and it was there and it wasn't there, it was just any updates on Mike McGlinchey as if that's all I asked, that's when I became, okay, did I touch on something that either they're trying to play close to the chest, didn't want to disclose, or is more of a concern than they are willing to say. So it was weird, man. Like there it is right there for you guys. It's literally the first one. Any updates on Mike McGlinchey? That's not what I asked. For anybody who wants to know, if you follow me on Instagram, if you follow me on Twitter, go look it up and listen to me ask the question and tell me that that's the same exact question. It's not. It is not. So I don't know if I maybe asked the question that he wasn't ready for, he wasn't ready to give an answer to, or that they're more concerned about because they just wanted to use, the quick vanilla answer and get me out of there. Because also, John Lynch looked at me like, who the hell are you to ask the first question at the press conference?
I've never seen you before.
I've never seen you before. I was like, I don't care. I was like, I'm getting this question off before anybody gets a chance. So yeah, that's a little suspicious, man. And Tim World season's coming back, but for different reasons at this point. That was really, really something that stood out to me. So yeah, for anybody who's interested, go to my Twitter or go to my Instagram. It's one of the videos that I have on there where you can actually hear me with my loud ass voice ask that question, and you can know for a fact that man didn't answer the question and just completely dodged it.
Yeah, that was a trip when I saw that the 49ers transcripts didn't include the rest part of that question. So usually the reason why that happens is teams don't like to show their hand within their draft process. Like Michael asked us earlier, like, what do you think it's going to look like? What do you think their plans are? And to me, I think they're considering a tackle at 61. And with an injury this severe, how can you not? How can you, if a Kennard from Kentucky is there on the board at 61, how can you not consider that? Granted, they won a whole lot of football games and went to the NFC Championship with Tom Compton, but we saw what that looked like once it came down to the nitty gritty in the NFC Championship game, the divisional round, and even the wild card. Like Tom Compton got ate up in the playoffs, and that cannot be your plan with the rookie. Well, I'll say a first-year starter in Trey Lance. Like that cannot be the plan. You need a prospect who's better than that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. But where? Oh, Lynch.
Well,
who's this? Who's this zombie looking?
He was like, and the thing is, this Corey Rush is standing there, right? The new director of PR, and even he was like,
yeah,
like because we were talking with we got
check his cred. Check his cred.
Right. We got a chance to speak with Lombardi, with Jennifer Lee Chan, with Mayoko, all of them. They're so nice. Mekiana Martin, so nice, so gracious with their time, everything, right? But Lombardi, when I was asking him, I was just like, hey, because he was very gracious with his time and very, very nice, man. And I was just like, man, I can't believe that I ever thought differently, right? I asked him, I'm like, so how does this go? Because there's certain players that are there. There's only 3 or 4 people there. Only a certain amount of people can ask questions. But when the Denver general manager came up, everybody squashed in, right? They want to know what's going on. It's a free-for-all at press conferences. There's no hand-raising. There's no, pointing. It's like, it's kill or be killed. Yell your question out and hope that you have a bigger voice than the person next to you. So when John got there, I was like, I'm not getting in the way of this at all. I'm going to ask my question and I'm just going to sit there and chill. I practiced it a bunch of times before I was going to ask it. That's why it came out so quickly. But if you notice, Joey said he posted it on TikTok and they omitted the question. It's just strange, man. It's just strange all around. So, yeah, I guess that's where we're connecting dots at this point.
Any last things that you want to say here? We're about an hour in.
In-depth thoughts on the Batman. I know you guys, that's what you're all here for. I have watched it twice now, so I know exactly what I want to say. I want to say a very good movie. I will stick to Incredible. Still not better than The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is a perfect movie. This movie is a very good movie, and its villain is dope. The story was great. Batman detective story. Zoe Kravitz, amazing. Much darker than The Dark Knight, much darker, but at the same time, Dark Knight is the perfect movie. So Dark Knight over Batman until something changes at this point. But please go see The Batman. Oh my goodness, man. What a movie. What an achievement. What
I still
job by
haven't
Robert
even
Pattinson.
seen Spider-Man.
Get this guy out of here, man.
You know what? It's just pulling up to the movie theater for a movie that long with a 3-month-old. I don't want to ruin it for everybody else. So I just kind of, got to take my L and probably wait until it's a streamable at that point. It's just, I can't. All you Dark
Ricardo
Knight
said
fans.
Jason should have started with Bang Bang Niner game. Hey, John, Bang Bang. What up, bro? Let me ask you real quick, man. What's happening with Mike McGlinchey, bro? What's up with him, man? Is it messed up? Y'all gonna draft somebody else? Talk to me. Put the camera in his face. That's how I should have asked it.
You also could have just went straight New York, and it's or New Jersey as well. You could have asked him, and and then everybody's like, "Oh my God, did he really ask John a tough question like that?" Just know when I'm in the presses, I go hard. No,
dude,
no,
dude. All right, here. All right.
All
Another funny story. So me and Jordan are going back into the media room because John's about to come on. We were gonna get there a little bit earlier and make sure we got a good spot in front of the podium. Everything cool. So I hear this quirky gentleman like behind me getting through, and I turn around and it's Coach McDaniel. And I'm like, "What's up, Coach?" I was like, "Hey, look, Jason Aponte, Jordan comes over, like Jordan Elliott." I was like, "We both cover the 49ers. I was like, I just want to say congratulations. We're completely stoked for you, and we're all rooting for you over here." And he was like, "Thank you, man." He goes, "You guys have been nothing but nice to me, man. How are you guys doing?" And that was his next question. "How are you guys doing?" He goes, "Man, you guys are sharp." He's like, "You going up to speak right after me or whatever?" And I was like, we got a quick laugh. And I was like, "Hey, Coach, real quick, favorite Mike Jones song?" He said, "Going Clubbing" featuring Paul Wall. Didn't even flinch. And then, talk with us for a little bit longer or whatever about just shooting shit basically at this point. So big Mike McDaniel guy. One of the best parts of that press conference was when he got off of the stage because he went on 15 minutes after John. He got off of the stage earlier before John, and he's standing on the other side. And someone asked about Mike McDaniel, and John Lynch was gushing over Mike. And Mike was standing there listening, and he didn't know Mike was there. And that's why if you see the video, Mike McDaniel goes, "Hell yeah, John," and he throws his hand up, and Lynch is like, "Oh, I didn't even see you there, Mikey. What's going on, man?" And it was so wholesome. And then here, one more funny story, because me and Jordan are idiots. Matt LaFleur is standing right where my daughter's basketball hoop is, right here, and we're talking. And I think it was one of us, I don't know who it was, and we were just like, "Cram it up your cram hole, LaFleur." And he turned and looked right at us, and we were like,
"No."
Oh my God. We were like, "Prepare to be embarrassed on cable television."
There goes Rich's gig with the Green Bay Packers. You guys just shot that completely out the window.
There goes our credential and everything, but no, it was just a blast. Got a chance to meet Matthew Berry and like Field Yates and these dudes. Rappaport. You saw Jordan took a picture with Rappaport. I flexed on Grant's show real quick. I was on Grant's show. I was like, "Oh, what's up, Ian?" He's like, "Who you talking to?" I was like, "Rappaport." He was like, "What the hell?" I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "We're cool." He was like, "We seen him, Matt Mina, like it was dope, man. It was really cool, man. It was amazing." But
so obviously I couldn't make those trips there this year with the baby. Next year I'll be out. And it seems like the word on the street is I should skip Mobile and just go to the combine. If you had to rate the two, if you had to rate them, like if you had a preference, you could only attend one.
Yeah.
Which would it be?
Definitely the combine.
Okay.
Definitely the combine.
That's what I mean.
I love the Senior Bowl, dude. I love the Senior Bowl, but being in that stadium,
I loved it too when we were there the year prior, but it's just like seeing what the moves you guys are making at the combine is like, all right, bet I'm going next year.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, all right. Me, Rob, and Jordan are sitting right before there's a little break and lunch and everything. We're just sitting by the metal detector. John Harbaugh walks by and he's like, "What's up, fellas?" He's like, "You guys look like you're locked in." And we're just looking like, "What's up?" Like, did John Harbaugh just talk to us, bro? Like, what is going on here? Like, we're trying to be professional, but we're walking down the hall from, I'm like, "That's Greg Cosell."
Legends, bro. Legends.
Yeah, I'm like, "That's this dude." Like it's insane, man. It is insane, bro. We even got to see the inside. So they had a Madden bus right there where the bench press was. And we walk over and we're like, "So what's going on here?" He was like, "The rookies, we're scanning them into the game." We got a chance to step in there, like where they have all the cameras and everything. Like
Did you ask to be a free agent?
Much to do, man.
You asked to be a free agent? Come on.
No,
6'10", 6'10", wide receiver, Jason Aponte in the game.
So they already got them in Funches already in the free agency. But it's so many things that like we're going on. It's like kid in the candy store type shit, man. It's just something I'll never forget. So yeah, for sure the combine. Just because when you walk into the media room, there's the platform for NFL Network, for ESPN, for CBS, for Sirius FM, and then there's all the podiums right there for like, Lynch is at 1, Zach Taylor's going to be at 2 on this one, Andy Reid's going to be on at this time, and you get them float back and forth. It was just combine hands down in terms of that. And also, I have an unpopular opinion. Keep the combine in Indiana, please. Do not send it to LA. Do not send it to Dallas, please. I understand the NFL is in the business of making money, but the schematics of how the combine is set up is beautiful. The convention center on this block, across the street, Lucas Oil Stadium. You leave the convention center, you walk 15 steps, and you're in the stadium for the combine. If you did that in LA, you're doing the interview somewhere else. You're in an Uber for like 45 minutes. It's going to cost you $3 million.
Yes.
In Dallas,
yes.
There's no place. There's nothing around the stadium. Leave the combine in Indy, please. I know you're watching, Roger Goodell. Please leave the combine in Indy and don't move it, man. Please.
Hey, yo, so you got a 69 overall in Madden.
That's pretty nice.
And your hands is 55.
That's pretty high, I think. That should be way lower, I think, Eric. Yeah. Eric,
hey,
yo, bro. Thank you, man. A lot of comments, a lot of content coming this week. From combine experiences, things like that. Some of the stuff that I can't talk about on the air. Some. It was just amazing. I would do the combine 10 out of 10 times. Instead of doing the Senior Bowl, and I love the Senior Bowl. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Michael's right though. As long as I don't put out, I'll be out there next year. So.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Take your power back, King.
Yeah, I gotta get my card back, man. Come on, fact. Jay's kind of suspect.
Facts Bay Area. Jay's hands kind of. Yeah, I mean that's why I talk about football and don't play it. I don't want to play it.
Yo, just seeing how much work went into it, I realized in college, like, all right, like I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. to go work out. I'm not. Let me just go ahead and talk about it. That's when I came to the realization for myself. But yeah, my when it comes to the hands, I had to switch over to corner. Actually, I
don't want to play that either. I don't want to play that either. You know what they have to do?
Nope.
They have to tackle.
Yeah, but I could pull a Dion and say I'm not here to tackle. I'm here to cover. So
you better lock down
everything. It works out if you lock them down. But yeah, I came to that realization in college because I remember doing a dig route. So I'm running wide receiver. This quarterback, he went to Louisville because he transferred and went to Louisville. And I just remember coming, flip my head, boom, ball's right there. Dropped it. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is like, how is this already on me? And it just happened a couple times. I was like, okay, where are the corners? And I had to go make that transition over there. But same thing. I wasn't waking up at 4 a.m. to go work out. So let me go, hey, where's the broadcasting room? Like, I see we have that here on the pamphlet for classes. Let me go ahead and go do that. So that's what I decided to do there. Did you run your 40, by the way?
No, I didn't. I didn't do that. Brad and them, I think, tried to do it. I wasn't, I just missed that. Like, they spoke to RG3 on the field and everything, and I was up trying to, I forget who I was talking to. I think it was like the scout for Minnesota Vikings. Nah, not me. Nah, I only spoke for her for a minute, man. I had to also be very cool and professional when it came to that and just not buckle up. I felt like if she could see what my inner self looked like when I spoke to her, she would see alfalfa from Little Rascals, bro. Like it might as well have been the same thing.
Did you see the Cardinals tweeted her saying, yes, how you doing, Mina? And she quote tweeted with the Kyler in an A's uniform.
She whipped his ass. It was so good, man.
That intern, he's probably gonna get in trouble now, the non-paid intern for sure. Definitely appreciate all of you guys that have been rocking with us here in the chat, that's having this conversation with us. If we didn't get to your question, we're going to get to more questions, next week, because we're going to be doing this every Tuesday. So make sure you subscribe to Jason's channel. Make sure you subscribe to my channel because we're streaming this on both platforms, and we're going to have other content besides this coming out in the week. I think Jason actually may be going on in just a bit with his emergency podcast for the Sprint Right Option Pod. Also, he has other things going on in the week. Same here on my channel. Other things going on in the week. Hit the like, subscribe. That's great. But make sure you hit the bell so you're here rocking with us when we're actually live on our channels. Appreciate all of you. Jason, last comments.
Nope. shout out to everybody who sent so many nice, kind words, man. And I'm gonna tell you this: anybody who wants to go to the combine next year, you can absolutely do it. Look at this guy. I mean, from Twitter account, from random Twitter account to getting kicked out of the media after one question for John Lynch, man. It's like it's a beautiful thing, like the career arc. Yeah, I don't know, man. He kind of gave me a dirty look when he walked off. I was like, man, I'm sorry, man. I just wanted to.
He walked off the stage and he was pointing at you, and then he went like that.
He just looked at me like. So, but yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Anybody? Oh, and that's the other thing. Yeah, pull up the last question. The last comment.
Yep.
Michael, yes. The answer is yes. See you guys in Vegas for the draft as well. John Chapman is throwing a party with Radio Row, Elijah Mitchell, Fred Warner, myself, Grant Cohn, a bunch of people. We're all gonna be there, man. Yeah, Leo. So pull up to the Vegas draft, man. There's a lot going on. It's gonna be a blast, man. I'll be out there for the 3 days, and man, just let's have some fun, man.
Let's do it.